Good morning, folks. So I woke up this morning here in Europe, and I noticed on the news that there wasn't much reporting again over the things that had happened overnight over in Gaza and the West Bank. So I logged in and I checked, and as we can see, Israeli strikes in Rafah kill 14 children. Meanwhile, civil defense teams unearthed 200 bodies from Nasser hospital in a mass grave. And rescuers retrieve over 200 bodies, including those of children, elderly women, and young men. And I really have to ask myself, how come I don't see this in national mainstream media reporting? In fact, the newspaper I read only had one article, and that article was about, in scare quotes, jihadis on the West Bank. Now, the mass grave was found at Nasser Hospital. Nasser Hospital is located over here, I believe, in Khan Yunis. Yep, there we go. And I just want to show you something real quick here. So, you saw the size of Gaza. Now I want to show you Luxembourg. Luxembourg is considered to be one of the smaller countries in Europe. Very crowded, etc., etc. And Luxembourg's population is a little bit over 500,000, while Gaza's is almost 5 times this amount. And as you can see, Gaza is a sliver of Luxembourg. And all of the people have been displaced from up north and pushed further into Rafah. So now you've got about, what is it, 2.5 to 2.8 million people huddled up in this tiny area over here. Also, this you would have thought would make the reporting partly the fact that Parisians are protest against Islamophobia amid Gaza war tensions, but more importantly, Israel's Benny Gantz asks the U.S. to reconsider decision to sanction an IDF battalion, Axios reports. Israel War Cabinet member Benny Gantz spoke with U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and asked him to reconsider the decision to sanction the Israeli Defense Forces Netza Yahuda Battalion. All right. Now, over the years, the unit stationed in the West Bank became a destination for many hilltop youth, young radical right-wing settlers who weren't accepted into any other combat unit in the IDF. Now, that's a pretty bad sign if you have an entire unit of people who will not be accepted into any other unit, and they're described as right-wing radicals. About these people and the sanctions, Netanyahu says that sanctions on our soldiers is a red line. Okay, now I want to introduce you to the Hilltop Youth. So, this is just one of the many atrocities that these fuckers, excuse my French, have committed. So, the Duma arson attack on the 31st of July 2015, these Hilltop Youths firebombed a Palestinian family home, probably for telling the Hilltop Youth that they weren't allowed to settle on the family's own land. Now, in this arson, this firebombing arson, 3 people were killed: an 18-month-old baby and both parents, and leaving an orphan behind. And here is a video that Al Jazeera made about this. I've jumped over to a portion here. Just going to spend a few minutes looking at it, but I severely recommend that you check out any of the material that's been released here, because I thought I was semi-clued up on what was going on in Israel, and none of this, for some reason, has ever made it into my feed when I used to be pro-Israeli.
أحمد.
So this is Ahmed. Ahmed survived the arson and in scare quotes, sustained burns to half of his body.
يوميتها كان يوم خميس 31/7/2015 الساعة 2:15 فجرا. شفت نار مولعة، دخن كثيرة ونار قوية. لما شفت قلت والله هاي دار بنت. هسا أنا توجهت ناحية البيت. كان في البيت موجود اللي هو كان موجود علي، كان موجود سعد، كان موجود ريهام، وكان موجود أحمد. علي كان عمره 18 شهر. شيء يعني عن جد شيء بكشعر البدن، شيء ما حدش بيقدر يستحمله انك تشوف طفل زي علي ثلث جسمه مش موجود ماكلته النار. كان يومها اصعب يوم بحياتي. هذاك اليوم كان يوم صعب جدا بالنسبه لي. انا لحد هسه بنفسي مش متوقع انا لحد هسه كيف عايش. كان مشعل احمد، كان متخبي وراه كنبايه على اساس انهم ما يشوفوا المستوطنين، لانه شاف انهم اعتدوا على امه واعتدوا على ابوه، شافهم بعينيه.
30 يوم عدا يوم הזה בלי שום ראיות שהוצגו לבית המשפט.
So these psychopaths stood outside the courthouse, and keep in mind the courthouses in Israel never side with Palestinians more or less. Like this entire thing about due process is for Palestinians in Israeli courts is complete bullshit. Look at the psychopathic fucking smile of this son of a bitch. And they were standing outside the courthouse yelling, "Where's Ali? Ali is on the grill." Now, how come after October 7th, there were pictures plastered everywhere about charred remains? Some of those pictures even fake. But I remember 2015. I never really saw this in the news at all. Strange, huh? Anyways, I think that's enough. You can find this video yourself. Now, after this, there was actually one kid that was indicted. Amiram Ben Uliel. He was sentenced to 3 life sentences plus 20 years. Now, I haven't looked this up. It might actually be the case that he's been like released or something. I wouldn't be surprised. But let's see here. Tzvi Kostener, head of pre-military academy, says convicted murderer Amiram Ben Uliel didn't do anything. But even if say he did, come on, let's accept him. They've also been leading a campaign to raise funds for the release of this psychopath, raising $300,000 in donations. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those donations come from psychopaths in the United States. Anyways, jumping on to other news. Hezbollah downs Israeli drone over Lebanon. Rockets fired at U.S. base, and I had a look. So here's the video for that. This was released by Hezbollah themselves. a little bit of editing and whatnot. It was a Hermes 450, and here's the footage of it being shot down. Now, according to Hezbollah, they used surface to air missiles to get that done, but they don't specify exactly which one that they used. The Hermes, just to give you an idea of the size of it, this is the size. Like, it has a pretty wide wingspan, and it's only recently in this flare up where we started seeing that Hezbollah actually has the capability of downing these things relatively predictably. Now, I think we're at a handful or more of these drones being shot down successfully, which probably indicates that the Hezbollah's capabilities have gone up severely. I've seen them use some pretty high tech stuff. Another tip is to go and check out B'Tselem's webpage, b'tselem.org. This is a group, an Israeli group that documents a lot of the atrocities done by these extremist settlers. And I just want you to have a think about that. So, Israel takes the most extreme of the extreme, complete psychopathic people, and puts them into a military unit. They commit absolute atrocities. And then when they are to be sanctioned, and I mean, this is like symbolic sanctioning because it's the Israeli army, the IDF itself, that leverages this unit for probably some of its most brutal work. So when a symbolic sanction comes in, suddenly they're trying to get that label removed because it would be a pretty big PR loss for Israel if a sanction actually stuck. And I'm still flabbergasted that in European media I can't find anything about mass graves. I can't find anything about the absolute atrocities committed by this genocidal occupation. Anyways, have a nice day and a nice week. Hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow.